Welcome to Brave Kenya TV, my people. I believe you're coming to this channel because you believe in a better Kenya, because you love your country, and you want to see us taking a new trajectory towards good governance, towards accountability, towards progressive politics, towards a people-centered government that puts the needs of the Kenyan people front and center. And that's why today we are looking at who is the best candidate that Kenyans need to start rallying behind for 2027. I know, we may not necessarily get to 2027. At the current rate of things that Kenya Kwanza is running this country, we may end up impeaching this president. We may end up forcing him out through sheer people power. But for the moment, we need to be strategically planning and preparing and mobilizing ourselves and organizing for an election, whether it is coming now, whether it is coming in 2027 or before 2027. We need to be ready. If you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe and hit the like button so that this video can go out to as many viewers as possible, and also hit the bell button so you can get notified whenever we post new content. Let's go.
His Excellency, sitaramika tena. Sita complain juu ya hii uongozi yako. Huku ingia kwa mfuko yangu katoa kura. Ni mimi nilitoa na nikaamuka asubuhi na mapema tena sana kwenda kuvote. Nikakosa kuvotia kina Wajakoya. Nikakuvotia, nikasema zako 5. Endelea kuninyanyasa. Usinihurumie. Nitesa kabisa. Dr. William, endelea kunidunga shindano. Sasa hiyo umenidunga 2. Zimebaki 3. Umebakisha miaka 3. Hizo miaka 3 zimebaki, usinihurumie. Nitesa kabisa. Nitesa kabisa, His Excellency. Mwibe ya kujidunga haina dawa.
Let's ask ourselves, Kenyans, how did we find ourselves in a situation whereby we elect a president who has been continually mentioned in connection with corruption? I mean, how did it happen to us as a nation that we closed our eyes collectively and had this man rise to the highest office in the land, where he has the most power over us? How does this happen? I'd like to know whether this actually happens in any other country. Is it just a Kenyan curse? Is it just us? I mean, literally, Ruto has been mentioned in so many scandals in his life. I can't even go back long enough. Karura Forest, land grab. Maize scandal when he was the Minister for Higher Education under the Kibaki government. Then he was indicted in a court of law for grabbing 100 acres during the 2007 and 2008 post-election violence. He was told to give the land back to its rightful owner and to pay them 5 million shillings. Clearly, this is someone who has an insatiable appetite for land. And then we've got the Western Hotel land saga. This land was clearly grabbed from Langata Primary School. And the big one, of course, is the ICC, where the charges were dropped, but he was never acquitted by the court. And that is important because there was so much interference with witnesses. Some of them were killed, some of them were forcibly disappeared. Does that ring a bell of what is happening right now when he is president of Kenya? The abductions, the killings, the disappearances. These things carry on. Let me tell you something. The Bible talks about stewardship over small things translates into stewardship over big things. The way someone takes care of small things in their charge is the same way they'll take care of big things. I mean, we do the same thing when you're trying to get someone to work for you. When you're trying to interview someone, some of them may show up and really do a good talk. Some people are specialists at giving good interviews. But what do? Do you just employ them at the word? No. You go and get a reference. Show me where you've worked before. Let me hear from your previous employers. What do they say about you? That is essential. The same thing in politics. Someone can come and give us a good talk, like President Ruto did between 2018 and 2022. Talking up about bottom up, talking about how to take the money from the dynasties, the ruling class, and take it down to the grassroots, to the mama mboga, to the boda boda, to the shoe shiners, to mtu wa kazi ya mkono. He was actually befriending them and taking pictures with them and eating mahindi choma and eating chai and mandazi in lowly kiosks just to show them that I am one of you. I'm a chicken seller. But what happens? No sooner does he become president than he changes tune. Nowadays, he never talks about bottom up. And yet that was meant to be the pillar of this KK government. Dr. Muluka, I like this guy because although he supported Ruto, he's one of the first people who actually noted that this guy has changed tune. And he shifted immediately and became a very strong critic of this regime. Listen to
Erica, do you think the government is on track to its promise, or has it been sidetracked by political expediency?
I don't think that the Ruto government has been sidetracked. I think it is spot on its agenda. And this is where we have got to separate between the agenda and the mask, such that when we look at what was peddled to Kenyans 3-4 years ago as the plan, you discover that the plan was the mask. But within the integuments of the mask were the real contents, the real agenda. And the agenda was about self-service. So I don't think that the Ruto Kenya Kwanza government is off track. It's right on track. It is serving itself. It is not about serving the citizens, and it does so with abandon, unashamedly, unabashedly, without the slightest care in the world.
Yeah, this was by design. The promises that Ruto made on the campaign trail were just a bait. It's like going fishing and baiting the fish to come and bite. Once it has bitten, then you go on and do what you want, which is just to catch it and take it out of the water. So the same thing, these guys actually put a false front and baited a lot of Kenyans to vote for them. I was not one of them, although I can't gloat about that right now because the other guy I voted for, Rao, has also ended up working with Ruto, and now they're all in one basket. They have shown us their true colors, and now we are working to send them home once and for all. So some people come back and say, you know what? Politicians are all the same. There's no good politician, there's no bad politician. They're all the same. No, my brother, my sister, disabuse that thought from your mind. There are good politicians. When you want to get married, you know, people advise you and tell you that no one is perfect, which is true. There's no human being who's perfect. But does that stop you from getting married? No. What do? You go out there and try to minimize your chances of marrying the wrong person. How do you do that? Most people try to go find a husband or a wife from a church, or a mosque if you're a Muslim. Someone who has already shown that they're religious, they fear God. That is one way of minimizing your chances of landing a bad egg. You don't go to a brothel or a pub and pick someone who works there to become your spouse. No, that increases your chances of getting a bad egg. And the other thing you do, of course, is try to ask around, about the character reference. How do you know this person? You ask someone who goes to church with them. You ask someone who knows them. You ask someone who comes from the same village or comes from the same neighborhood with them. But how do we treat our politicians? Someone as important as the president of Kenya comes to us with a bad reference, with lots of court appearances, with lots of brushes with the law. Someone who has acquired wealth through fraudulent means continually. He comes to us with that bad reference. But what do? Tribalism sets in. We say he is our own. He is our thief. And he ends up becoming president of the nation of Kenya. And right now, we are reaping it. The economy is in tatters. You can see that every project that is initiated by Kenya Kwanza is a deal. It's all about what is in this for me. Whether you're talking about Chief, whether you're talking about the airport expansion, the Adani project, whether you're talking about the fertilizer scheme, the cooking oil, the government-to-government petroleum deal, the new higher education funding model, everything is about deals. Even the housing project, the affordable housing, the houses are not affordable. That just shows you that it's all a deal. They're trying to make money out of this project. That's why they're going for infrastructure projects where they're going to make lots of money and kickbacks for themselves. That is what we have, because that is the kind of government we voted into power. Now, wahenga walisema yaliyopita si ndwele tuyagange yajayo. And they also say that kukosa, it's not too bad. Lakini kurudia kosa ndio actually kosa zaidi. So, how do we make sure that we never ever again as a nation, starting from 2027, we never again get duped to repeat the same mistake, to elect someone into office who's just a charlatan, who's just putting on a false front to suck us in, to get us to vote him, and then they come into office and they turn on us. They turn the very guns we buy with our own money on us and kill us and maim us and disappears and abduct us and try to deprive us of our constitutional rights. How do we make sure this never happens again? The first thing we need to do is to have a proper character review of every candidate who wants to be president. The way you determine how someone is going to behave in future, the best indicator and the best way to predict how a person will turn out is to look at their past. That has been proven again and again. So, what do we have right now? I'm talking about progressive presidential candidates. I'm talking about candidates who have clearly demonstrated that they have a heart for the people, who are pro-people in ideology. Whenever they speak, whenever they act pro-people. And they have done it consistently. Now, looking across our political landscape, I can only come up with about 5 names of candidates who have clearly demonstrated and continually shown that they have the people at their heart. Forgive me if I don't include names that you expect me to include, but I went for people who have indicated that they're interested in running for president. They have categorically said that I want to be president of the Republic of Kenya. There are some others who might have shown that they are pro-people, but they've not put their hand up. And that is one thing, that is one critical thing. They have to put their hand up and say, I want to become president. Because the burden of presidency, go look for a video from Mwalimu Nyerere when he was talking about the burden of presidency. It's not a walk in the park. For you to put your hand up and say, I want to become president, it's a big burden on your shoulders. And that is why most people, when they become president, watch them. They age so quickly. Within 2-3 years, their hair goes white and their skin begins to age because of the burden of that office. The amount of information you have to consume on a daily basis, the amount of decisions you have to make on the trot, it takes a toll on you. And it needs someone who has clearly taken stock of that and accepted that I'm ready to take on this responsibility of serving my people. Unless, of course, you just want to go in there and lazy and eat and embezzle and plunder. Such people don't need much preparation. But if you're going in there as a servant of the people, then absolutely you need to be prepared. Now, it's critical that we do this now because I believe that mapema ndio best. I think that is one of the few things that I've learned from President Ruto. That one, and the other one is being consistent, which Murara seems to have picked very well. So Kenyans of goodwill, Kenyans with a progressive mindset, we need to do these things early. We need to look at the field that we have and identify one candidate and line up behind them starting now and start building a coalition of like-minded progressive Kenyans who can take this country forward and win an election, whether it comes early, whether it comes in 2027. Now, this is something that we've tried before. Now, in 2018, you remember, people realized that they did not have an alternative candidate, apart from the big 2 coalitions, which normally shape up every time we have an election in Kenya. And that 2018 was the year of disappointment because Raila Odinga was sworn in at Uhuru Park as the people's president. But unbeknown to the people then, Raila had already crafted a deal with Uhuru, and they had that handshake that disappointed most of Raila's supporters. And that's why they came up with this thing of apende asipende. They tried to get then Makueni governor, Kivuta Kibwana, to become the people's candidate for 2022. But for one reason or another, maybe feared being victimized by the regime and being impeached, by the MCAs, he chose not to pursue that further. He said, I want to serve the people of Makueni for now. And people respected that. They let him have it. So after that, there was no strong pursuit towards having an alternative candidate for 2022. So we went in 2022, most of us held up our noses and voted whichever candidate we voted for. Because we did not have an alternative. We didn't have a clear option. We knew that it's either the devil or the deep blue sea. So we went for it. But this time round, guys, we cannot afford to keep our eyes shut. We cannot afford to keep our heads in the sand and let politicians decide for us. We need to go out there, identify one candidate and tell him, we have identified you because you have a track record of being a pro-people person. And we want to put you forward. We want to campaign for you. We will fund your campaign A to Z and we will put you in State House. Why? Because we want you to go there and ensure that you lead a pro-people government that will serve the people of Kenya, not foreign interests, not individual selfish interests. Let me know what you think. If you are new to this channel, please take a moment to subscribe. Give this video a big like, please, so it can go out to as many Kenyans as possible. And also hit the bell button so you get notified whenever we post new content. Thank you so much. God bless you. Bye-bye. God bless Kenya. Bye.